Your Honour, my name is Lyne, Lyne, initial L, and I appear with my learned junior Wilken, Wilken, initial T, for the defendant, the Quixley Hotel, in this matter. Your Honour, it is a fundamental rule of negligence that a party should only be held liable to compensate another if they have acted unreasonably in protecting the interests of those they owe a duty of care. For without this limit, there would be no personal autonomy restricting almost all activities required by a functioning society. The Civil Liabilities Act 2013, Queensland, is therefore fundamental in upholding these principles. The defendant presents three main submissions. In regards to these submissions, we submit to the court that the Quixley Hotel has met the required standard of care as set out by the Civil Liability Act 2013 and therefore cannot be held liable for negligence. We will now address the plaintiff's submissions, in which I will be speaking submissions 1 and 2, and my learned junior will present submission 3. I will now move on to submission 1. It has been recognised that an occupier owes a duty of care to an entrant to prevent a foreseeable risk of injury, and that the scope of this duty for a licensed premises will include injuries from criminal acts of a third party, where that occupier has control over the premises. We therefore do not contest that the plaintiff was within the class of persons to whom the Quixley Hotel owed a duty of care. This, however, is not enough for an action of negligence, which requires the plaintiff to prove that the Quixley Hotel has breached this duty by failing to take reasonable care, and that this breach then caused the damage suffered by the plaintiff, in which these requirements have not been met. It is here that I therefore move on to submission 2. Your Honour, the plaintiff has outlined what elements are required to bring a negligent action. One of those required elements is duty of care, which is outlined in Donahue and Stevenson, a 1932 case of the United Kingdom's Appeals Court, commencing from page number 562. We do not agree, however, that my client owes a duty of care as such. The reason for this comes from the current approach. When applied, the approach states that the harm must be foreseeable. My client has followed Section 14 of the CLA, Civil Liability Act by ensuring that precautions have been taken. Therefore, we submit to the court's attention that my client has not breached, which is clearly evident in the case of Strong and Woolworths, a 2012 case in volume 247 of the Common Law Reports, commencing on page 182. In this case, it was evidentially concluded that even if items are on the floor, as long as there are cleaning routines, then that company would not be in breach of a duty of care. So you see, Your Honour, even if there were hazardous materials on the floor, the Quixley Hotel staff provided routine floor checks quite regularly. On the day in question, a staff member had just finished a routine check approximately 30 minutes prior to Ms. North becoming dazed and falling. Your Honour, in order for this submission to be breached, there has to be standing, and one may be able to argue that there is no standing as my client was acting under pressure to help Ms. North from an injury that already had occurred. This is authorised by Brewerton and Competitive Foods Australia Proprietary Limited, a 2005 Australian Torts Report in volume 81, commencing from page 792. So we submit that my client has provided adequate care for Ms. North and that the precautions were taken. However, if Your Honour still finds that there is a duty of care, we wish to submit to the court that the fact that Ms. North does not present any causation for her injuries. In Coles Supermarkets Australia Proprietary Limited and Mangallo, a case heard in 2003 by the New South Wales Supreme Court of Appeals, matter number 264 at paragraph 47, Justice of Appeal Barrett finds that cardboard is not a hazardous material. You see, Your Honour, as we are aware, Ms. North is claiming that she slipped on a coaster, which is essentially a piece of cardboard. Upon that, Ms. North has no proof that the coaster is what she actually slipped on. It was simply on the floor when she looked on the ground. This cannot be proven, as who is to say that Ms. North did not knock the coaster to the ground when she fell? As the plaintiff cannot prove the onus of proof due to the plaintiff being dazed by her previous harm, or injury, so to say, and not being able to see what she had then slipped on, Ms. North therefore has no factual causation as required by Section 11 of the Civil Liability Act. In conclusion, Your Honour, I submit that the plaintiff has not established enough proof for the courts to order a breach for duty of care, as well as there is no causation to even consider a duty of care. I will now hand over to my learned junior counsel for submission 3.